This is Carrie Kampakis, and you're listening to the Girl Mom Podcast. Today's episode is about one of the biggest struggles facing girl moms today, and that is shopping for your teenage daughter. When our girls are little, we have fairy tale images of what shopping together will look like in the future. But in reality, shopping for a teenage girl can sometimes be very hard. Finding clothes that you agree on in this age of provocative and barely there dresses can be a real battlefield for mothers and daughters, especially if you live in a community where that is the going trend. I'll be honest, in the past year alone, I have been shocked and disturbed on a whole new level by the current naked dress trend that a lot of celebrities are touting in their Instagram photos and on the red carpet. To me, it's very unattractive and also counterproductive to the healthy self-image we want to instill in our daughters and also to the healthy dating relationships we hope for them to have with the opposite sex. How we dress is a reflection of who we are inside, and I believe that as moms, we need to help our girls find clothes that help them feel beautiful and confident. It's worth putting time, effort, and energy into helping them understand what looks good on them, what brings out their best, and what will never go out of style and can therefore stay in their closet for the next 10 years. Joining me today is a local friend who owns a boutique that is awesome and has always carried beautiful and classic clothing and shoes. Dora Cothren and her sister own Theodora in downtown Homewood here in Birmingham, and everything I've ever bought from them I have worn and enjoyed for many, many years. So make sure and visit your store if you're in the area or if you ever visit Birmingham. Also in downtown Homewood, there are other cute boutiques that you want to stop by and check out too, like Soka, Hemline, Fabric, Effie's, and Shay Davis Boutique. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen and share this episode with your daughter and with friends. Also, I've started a new community on Substack where I'm sharing new content and new articles, and I'd be honored for you to join me as a new subscriber. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show. Dora, I'm so excited to have you here today. As I mentioned beforehand, this is just so different than any podcast I've done yet. And I know this is something that I get so many emails from moms on this topic. And you and I feel like every time I go in your store, we end up having a deep discussion.
Yes, we do.
On clothing and grease and all the other things that we have in common. But anyway, you're just I think you're a wealth of information on this subject and many more. So thank you for taking time to
It's
come
my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. And I want to congratulate you also on 100,000 followers on Instagram. That's an amazing, amazing testament to the awesome work that you do. And I just love listening to your stuff. You're also a wealth of information, so I'm glad to be here.
Well, thank you. Well, you have such a good perspective that one thing I love about Theodora is you have such beautiful classic clothing, but it's also fashionable and fun, and I always get complimented whenever I wear something from your store. I forgot to mention that you also have amazing jewelry too. I love your necklaces and jewelry. But we came up with some tips. We came up with, I think, like 6 or 7 tips, just tangible ways for moms today to help their daughters. But before we jump into those, what are you seeing as far as some of the things that our moms are working against in this day and age, even versus 2 or 3 years ago?
Well, first of all, this is our 30th year in business, and we have seen a lot of trends and things come and go. Right now, it's particularly difficult and frustrating because there is a lot of, I think that honestly, designers need to work in a selling floor and see what customers want and what they're looking for before they produce a collection, because there is a disconnect. Lately, in particular, the dress season, past couple of years has been, I think, very challenging. It just wasn't right. It was either too short, it was too cut out. There was so many things that were wrong with dresses, and people just wanted a normal dress, and it was hard to find.
And it shouldn't be that hard.
It should not be that hard, but somehow they got it all wrong. So I do think when we go to market, we have to navigate so many trends and styles that are so not for our customer to find the right things. And as a consumer, you do the same.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
I'm glad you have such a good pulse on what your customers want. And I don't know, I had to think, I know Birmingham, you obviously know the tastes of your customer base, but I have to think that Birmingham is not the only city that doesn't want all these cutouts and ridiculously short skirts. I mean, most moms that I know listening to this hate a lot of the clothing trends that are out there for teenage girls and for women today.
And going, like, it used to be like back to school, and if your school has a dress code, that is an absolute nightmare to find something that is not cropped or strapless or keyhole. It's very challenging. So a lot of times what's on the selling floor does not really resonate with what customers are looking for. And I think that's the most frustrating thing about the industry.
Okay, so we came up with some tangible tips to help moms navigate shopping with their daughters. And, and a lot of this is what I've learned the hard way, having 4 daughters. And I feel like I joke that sometimes I feel like a personal concierge that, my daughters, like I grew up, I love to shop. I grew up going to the mall for 5 hours at a time. And so,
but see, we were a mall generation though.
Yeah.
That's where we spent our time.
Right. And we learned to dig, and I wasn't intimidated to go into a big, huge department store because I was willing to go search. But this generation, they kind of want it like curated for them. They don't like mine. That's why I put a lot of effort into finding homecoming dresses or whatever, because they won't go scour the internet and look at a lot of different options. They're more likely to settle for something just because they don't have the patience to go really look.
They don't want to dig, and they're very into add to cart and be done. They don't know the whole art of it. Well, I know we talked about at the store about the naked dress trend. And how it's really taken over. It's so funny because when you came in, we talked about it, like 3 days later, it was the Oscars. And pretty much the barely there naked dress trend dominated all the Vanity Fair parties, the Oscar parties. It got a ton of attention from the celebrities, the designers. And that's one trend that does not really resonate to, I feel like, a lot of us, especially moms with daughters.
And I hope it keeps not resonating with moms and daughters, because I'm thinking, as I'm seeing it in style, is posting all kinds of celebrity pictures with the naked dresses. But I'm like, please don't tell me this is what homecoming dresses will look like in 2 or 3 years. Like, I cannot take it.
It's crazy awful. Because think about Marilyn Monroe back then when she sang Happy Birthday to John F. Kennedy. That was kind of a flesh beaded dress that was very, at the time, controversial and provocative. And now it is literally a sheer dress where you can see body parts. That's where we've evolved. And for fall 2024, YSL, Gucci, Chloe, it's going to be even bigger. And it's even going to be more sheer.
Yeah. I do not like it. And I know that most moms listening to this, I would like to say all moms listening to this would feel the same way. So that's what we're working against as mothers. But we've got awesome people like Dora who understand what moms are looking for and can help us find cute clothes. And, a lot of times I'll get emails, especially when we have like homecoming or balls here and we post pictures. I'll get emails from moms in other communities, and they're like, I'm showing my daughter pictures of what the girls there are dressing like as an example of how classy is beautiful, because they'll see some classic looking dresses and they're like, in our community, that's not really the style. And so I think that sometimes if they don't see it, it just looks like they think it on the rack, it might look like a dress for your mother or your grandmother.
Right.
But they might need to see it on. And so anyway, I do think it's important. That's one thing we can do as moms. It's just sometimes we have to kind of expose our daughters to things and have them try on things that they might not think that they'd like. But then when they get it on, they might be like, actually, this looks better than I thought it would.
That's, I think, the gateway. Get them into a store and to try it on. Because I think that it takes effort. It's easier to spend like an hour and add to cart. But to me, we're so blessed in Birmingham to have so many pockets of good neighborhoods with stores. Take an hour. Don't make it a day. Usually you get tired by the end of the day and everybody's grumpy and it ends up going south. Take 3 stores and walk in there. And it's nice if you know the sales associates because they can kind of guide you. But you can try on, let's say, different style dresses. Fit and flare, A-line, sheath, drop waist. And just try them on, and then you can educate, like, okay, drop waist is not great on you, but I kind of like this sheath. It's better for your athletic body. That is a good way to have a start, at least knowing what style dress fits.
Yes. So that's our first point, is educate your daughter on appropriate styles and what's flattering on her. I love that. And I do think that sometimes even, having 4 daughters, it might be I have a Saturday afternoon when they were younger, and I'd have just one at home. And I'm like, you know what, this is a good time for me we don't have anything on the schedule. This is a good time for us to go into a few stores, not only to look for her, maybe some clothes that she might need, but also for me to get a feel for what does she feel good in? What colors does she like on herself? And that's been huge for me shopping for my daughters, is I have to know that, like, one of them doesn't love her shoulders. And I know that's silly, but she's like, I feel like my shoulders are kind of broad. And so she doesn't like certain cuts of dresses. And so I know to try to avoid certain cuts of dresses because she doesn't like that. Or, they're real big into their color wheels, the color palette, which I love that that's come back into style.
I love it.
And I think that's a great way to talk about shopping for your daughter in a way that's not talking about their body or what fits. It's just starting with what colors, because that's undeniable. I mean, certain colors look better on all of us. Like, you're wearing yellow today, and you look amazing in yellow. And I cannot wear yellow, but certain people look great in it. And so, but I think that's great when you do have some time, like you said, to go into a store.
Well, you got to plan it, and don't make it a huge outing. Just knock out an hour or two. Then maybe go get a coffee or go by a bakery, get a treat. Make it a day, but I will tell you, you can have a grumpy teenager, and then you go to a store and they find something cute. I mean, it really will help. I don't know, it just kind of helps their esteem, and it helps them cultivate some of a cool style.
Yes, I agree. That's totally, and also I think it becomes the bonding experience that we want it to be. And especially I think it's our chance, especially with teenage daughters. You're always looking for opportunities to prove that you're on their team,
Right.
And I think when you take them shopping, like, tell me what you like, what do you feel good in, and showing that you're on their team, that you're trying to help them with something that can be very challenging.
Well, what I love, especially, I've got a couple of associates that work with us that have been there forever, and they are amazing, and they're the best. And the moms usually stay out of the picture, and it's one-on-one with one of those associates and the daughter.
That's good.
And the associate will look at them in a totally different way and will bring things to them that they just, hey, try this. And that is a one-on-one experience that is invaluable, especially at the early stages of, shopping for yourself.
That's a great idea. And something I thought of too is that, sometimes as moms we suggest things and they're like, no, I don't want it. But it's something that I thought was kind of funny that happened a few years ago, and it goes back to your point of bringing in an outsider to really back up or affirm what the mom is hoping for the end goal to be. Is there was a girl, one of my friend's daughters, they had a ball coming up, and the mom had suggested all these great dresses for her, and the daughter just kept rejecting them, didn't want anything. And her mom knew that anything she suggested was not going to pass the test. And so anyway, we were on a mother-daughter beach trip, and we were talking about it. And one of the moms with us, she had an older daughter that all these girls looked up to. And she's like, why don't you, because there was this white dress that we knew would look good on her daughter. But she's like, if I send it, this mom said, if I send it, she'll reject it like she did the other ones. So the other mom said, why don't you send it to me? I'll send it to my older daughter.
I love it.
And have her send it to your daughter, because she was kind of a big sister figure to these younger girls. And maybe she'll go for it then. And it worked.
Yeah, that's it.
And
that is it.
It was funny. And so it was kind of like a roundabout way for the mom to.
Well,
to
the girl validated the dress.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome.
She needed that. And I even had that experience recently. I was looking for like a gown, and I was with a friend, and she had a lot of formal dresses. It was up at Effie's. My friend Paige works up there. And she pulled a red dress off the rack. And at first, I almost didn't try it on. I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure I love that. But I put it on and I loved it. And I was so glad that she had that vision and she told me to try it on. I loved red, but I just didn't like the style off the rack. But
especially, we're in our stores all day long, and we see from the designer to the time it hits the selling floor. So we kind of know about the dress, and, we see it in a different way.
Mm-hmm. And you've probably seen it on other people.
We've seen it on other people. We know what works. We know what color palette. We know what cut. So I think trust your associates. That's always a good, they're a wealth of information.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love that. And I do love when I go into a store and they say, okay, this has looked good on people, or this has been a really flattering dress.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's our first point. Educate your daughter on appropriate styles and what's flattering on her, which is probably the first and most important thing we can do as moms. The second thing we've talked about is to start looking early and don't wait until the last minute, because if you wait until the last minute looking for a dress, especially for a special event, you're going to feel stressed and more likely to settle, and also sometimes pay more. Now, I speak from experience when I say this. Yeah. I learned that lesson the hard way, and it was a homecoming. One of my daughters' first homecomings that I just didn't know to start looking early. And we couldn't find a dress we agreed on. And, it was the week of homecoming. And then we found a dress we loved, and they didn't have her size because everything was sold out. And we ended up having to get something that I paid more than I wanted to. And she liked it, but not all that much. So she only wore it one time. And anyway, I was like, lesson learned.
That happens to all of us. That's called desperate shopping when you're desperate. I also have done that as well. Because of our delivery cycles, it is hard to buy now and wear now many times because you're limited on the styles and the sizes. So we're about to get our deliveries right now that are going to be high summer, which is kind of relaxed, cotton, linens. So people have June weddings coming up. Well, you're going to be limited in your offerings. Mm-hmm. So kind of start looking early, because when you're looking for something does not necessarily mean stores will have it, because our delivery cycles, like we're about to get pre-fall in the end of June.
So you're working a few months ahead.
Oh yeah, our season's over. We're about to get our pre-fall in. That's what we're working on right now.
Yeah, that's a great point with summer weddings. Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, you have a summer wedding.
And also game day stuff too, because once we start getting our fall deliveries, which is at the end of July and August, they're heavier weight, and you're going to want to pick up like some navy or red, maybe in the summer that's lightweight cotton that you can wear into those September football games that are really so hot.
Yes, that's a great point. And something I've learned too, and I've found that vacations, if you're on a vacation, that's a great time to shop.
Love it, yes.
That's sometimes, and for me, that sometimes like when we were in Greece, and Ella found this green dress that she loves, and I'm like, it would be $400 or $500 here, but I think we got it for maybe $100 there.
Right.
But it's beautiful, and it's this silky kind of green dress, and it's fun because every time she wears it, we remember that trip we took as a family.
And I think being relaxed too,
yes.
That's the best time to shop to discover something for sure.
Yes, and that I have a friend too in Birmingham that she had one of the most beautiful ball dresses at Mountain Brook. This was years ago. But she'd found it. She'd always loved this dress. She had her eye on this dress. She went to New York, did a mother-daughter trip there, and it was on sale. And so she bought it a year in advance, knowing that she wanted it for the ball. And so she ended up, she knew that it's kind of helpful if there's a dress that you love, that maybe kind of keep your eye on it.
100%.
You can find it discounted at times, not always.
But that is so smart, because I always tell people, buy what you love.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter. You'll find an event, buy what you love. Because a lot of times under pressure, you just kind of buy what you like just to make do, and you do end up spending more money on it because you're desperate.
Yes, and I've done that with my daughters, especially knowing now what they're going to need in college. I'm like, you're going to need several long gowns, and so what you've worn to the ball or what you've worn for the Dorian's holiday party, whatever it is. Like, let's find something you're going to wear again, because you're going to have, your friends are going to be inviting you to parties, or you might get invited to a date party.
Right.
Or you're going to like a cotillion, something like that.
They're so social right now, and they need so much, and it's hard to navigate through all that.
Yeah. And like we said, if they're looking the day before, it's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So that's the second point. A third point, and this is big, look for classic trends that won't go out of style. I mean, that's one thing, especially now that my daughters have, when they stop growing, when they kind of hit that point where I know this is their size, a lot of times they're buying a dress. I'm thinking, let's look for something that's pretty and that's in style, but it will still be in style and still be classic looking 10 years from now, that you can take it to college and wear it 3 years later. And so far we've had a lot of luck in being able to rewear their dresses because of that.
That is so smart. And I had a customer the other day, her daughter's 15, and they really weren't looking for dresses, but they found one that looked incredible on her. And she said, I'm going to go ahead and start collecting just a handful of dresses that she can take with her in college, because she had a friend whose daughter's a senior that didn't really have much, and now she's scrambling at the last minute to buy a bunch of stuff, but she just doesn't love the trends. Mm-hmm. So she's really struggling with that. So, and I also think you'll be surprised as your daughter transitions from high school to college. College, it happens fast. They have it like a career day. My niece had a pre-law. She's in pre-law. She's a sophomore. And they had an event, and she kind of had a look professional. Well, it was a last-minute scramble on the trouser, a jacket, a blouse, that whole look. And you have to really kind of think ahead, but that does creep up on you.
Yes, and that's a great point. And I can say that, having two daughters in college, they both, I tried to tell them before they went, and they didn't listen to me, but they both had one. I remember Ella, her freshman year, had a career day, and she ended up having to go into Target and, scramble to find some shoes and some pants and a blazer because they had to be dressed professionally. And then Sophie was on a campaign for a friend who was running for SGA. And they were taking pictures the next day, and she didn't have anything professional to wear. And I was like, I tried to tell you this. But anyway, so she had to scramble, luckily found something from a friend. But only then did she believe me when I was like,
Right.
Usually when they need those professional pieces of clothing in college, there's not a lot of notice. And you might be in a town where you don't have shopping. They don't have a Target. They don't even have a place they can go. So it's so nice to have a few pieces in your closet that maybe they've had for high school too, as you take to college, and you can still wear.
Now, let's be honest. Is it the most exciting thing that they're going to want to buy, a full-length trouser to wear?
Right.
No, but they are such a panic before this event, or if they have to go to something, that honestly, it takes away that anxiety of, I don't have it, where do I find this? And a lot of times college towns just have college offerings, fun go out stuff, which is awesome. But when you're looking for, let's say, we've been dealing with some customers that are having internships in fun cities like Nashville and Charleston, and they have to be dressed 5 days a week to go to like an ad agency or clerk in a law firm. That's a lot of stuff that you have to rewear and be intentional about buying. So, of course, a good pair of pants that you can switch out the tops, easy dresses.
Yeah. And that can lead to another good conversation moms having with their daughters, or taking them into a store like Theodora to have your associates have this conversation if the mom doesn't feel equipped. But, knowing that you can, if you have, say, 5 basic good pieces.
That's right.
Work pieces that you can mix and match and make new outfits, or add a scarf here, or add different shoes, or just accessorize to make it look different.
Like we have a pair of pants. It's a crop flare pant. It's a flat front, elastic in the back. This pant is incredible. It fits everybody from 16 to 80, but this is the one that a lot of the girls, it's got a cool factor. Like I said, it's kind of got a flare at the bottom. They could put it with either a sneaker if they wanted to, or a pump, or a little slingback, a silk blouse, or a trendy shirt that's inexpensive. That you could rewear that. You can change that look up. That's a good piece to invest in.
Yeah, I got some pants. They're like black. I can't remember the brand. They're like cropped pants.
I think you got those.
Yeah. Is it this pair?
Maybe.
I love them. I wear them all the time.
But something like that can just open up so many one piece can open up a lot of wardrobing opportunities.
Yes. And one thing I love about those pants is this, it is the elastic waist.
Yes.
And so I'm like, if I'm different sizes,
right.
I've gained a few pounds.
Absolutely.
They still fit.
100%.
But they look nice, and that they're fitted in a way they look professional.
And you look polished.
Yes. And they're not uncomfortable. I mean, like, work clothes have come a long way since I actually worked at a desk job 30 years ago. Okay. Our fourth point to help moms shopping for their teenage daughter is to don't buy into the only wearing a dress once mindset. This is huge. And I don't know why this has become such a thing, but I guess with Instagram, a lot of girls don't want to wear a dress more than one time. But yet their mom might be spending an astronomical amount of money on that one dress. So let's talk about that.
Well, the thing is, like what happened to us, they spent so much time. We had a wedding overseas. We spent so much time trying to find the right dress. We find the right dress. We wear it. It's great. Well, we have a wedding last weekend in Nashville. I'm like, oh, this is great. You could wear the dress that you wore last year at the wedding. Oh, no. But I wore it last year at the wedding. I'm like, but you were on another continent and nobody saw you. Like there's not even mixing. Oh, I can't do it. So had I known that she did not want to wear it again, I wouldn't have bought, honestly. So what happens is a lot of parents are really, really frustrated with this. This has become, I hear this every day, all day, and it's unsustainable.
Yeah.
And we have to normalize wearing something again. If you don't want to have it again don't post in it.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know what
Yeah. And there's a whole, I've done some episodes on teaching your daughter about money. My friend Kim Anderson, I've done that podcast. And, there's a whole other conversation, if a girl is only wanting to wear a dress one time. I think this age of social media and Instagram, it makes it look like money grows on trees and everybody has money without working. And Every girl thinks she's an influencer or whatever. But, my thought is, okay, say your daughter is into fashion and say she really thinks she can't post in the same outfit twice. Then you know what? Give her some skin in the game. If this was my daughter and that was her aspiration to be an influencer or whatever, then I'm like, okay, well, if you want, I have bought you 3 dresses already for spring. If you want that 4th one, you pay for it.
That's right.
And I think making them have some skin in the game, making them pay for it and buy into this lifestyle that they're wanting, it's going to give them a little taste of what they're going to be up against in 5 or 10 years when it's on them to support themselves.
Well, it's one thing, let's be honest. If they wanted to buy dresses at Shein, and wear it once, okay, that's whatever. But if you want to buy nicer, things are so expensive now, especially dresses. I feel like clothes are either really inexpensive or expensive. There's no middle ground really anymore, especially with nice dresses. It's to say, we have to normalize this as parents.
Yeah. It's not sustainable, like you said. Well, and I've talked about this with several people. I mean, I'm seeing, and I have a friend that this actually happened with her son, and he's amazing, and he had a very good salary, but his wife, and she's like, it's kind of crazy how 2 people can come from the same socioeconomic background, yet have very different ideas about money. And her son and this girl dated in college, and they thought they were on the same page about everything, but they get into the real world and just her expectations of what he should be, the lifestyle that she should have. And they ended up getting divorced. I mean, she was like, I want a husband with a jet, basically.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah. And so
I do.
Yeah. And so I just think we're not doing our daughters any favors when we're creating a lifestyle, when they think it's normal to buy a $600 or $700 dress and only wear it one time. Now, maybe if there's a big event like a ball or something, maybe there might be an exception for that, or if you can go resell the dress. But there's nothing wrong with re-wearing our clothes. That is normal.
That is normal, and we did it. I have dresses in my closet that are they're vintage now.
Yes.
They're so old, they're vintage. It's crazy, and I have no problem with it.
Right.
But Kate Middleton, I tell girls this when they come in the store and they say, I can't rewear that. I said, Kate Middleton, who is going to be the future Queen of England, rewears her dresses. Okay, if she can do it, I think it's good.
Does she rewear? Oh, that's good to know.
She rewears everything.
Does she? I like that.
Oh, yes, and she mixes like Zara with, she's very good at that. She's very smart.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's the best point of all. Kate Middleton can do it, then we can too.
We're good.
Yes, I love that. Okay, our 5th point of what to think about when you're shopping with your teenage daughter is to keep her spirits high and be careful with your language. So, as we all know, teenage girls are very cerebral and also very sensitive about their bodies. And most of them, I would probably say all of them, are probably already beating themselves up or criticizing themselves, especially their body, even if it's perfect by the world standards. But this is something that's really tricky for moms, is just to be very careful in the language that we use. And, something that I've learned too, that sometimes if your daughter is in a heavier season, it's going to be harder to find the right dress, which really means you might need to set aside more time to go look. You might need to pay a little bit more money for a dress that makes her feel beautiful. And that's just my opinion. But I think there are just certain times in life that might be necessary. And Dora and I, we were talking before this started, and I was telling her about even my own experience. I mean, I went to college, and I think I gained the freshman 15 by October. It did not take me long. But I remember going home and going through my closet and trying on clothes. And in high school, I was really small my senior year because, you're trying to look. And this is typical with a lot of girls because you're about to go through rush and you have prom and all these things, and you're trying to look your best. And so I had an eating disorder. So I was small, but not really for the right reasons. But went to college and gained some weight pretty quickly, and I was crying. But I love that my mom was like, Kari, it's okay. You still look good, and I'm going to take you shopping. And so, I hear stories that go the other way. Sometimes moms, get upset with their daughters when they've gained that freshman 15 and they immediately put them on a diet. And I understand that there's a health concern here. So I'm not saying we need to ignore the health concerns, but chances are if they've gained some weight, if they've gone to college, packed on a few pounds, they're already self-conscious about it already. And our words carry a lot of weight as moms. And so we just have to be really sensitive to that. So let's talk about that because I'm sure you see the whole range.
I do see. I mean, and I feel like their bodies fluctuate so much from puberty and then college. It's easy. You're either too, like you said, a little bit underweight to being a little bit more full. Mm-hmm. And that happens at college. But I feel like it's temporary, most cases. Mm-hmm. So just because she's put on 15 pounds, that might be for that season or for that year. And then typically once they get out into the working world, when they get a job, they kind of slim back down and get more into a routine. But college is such a hard time because you don't keep a normal schedule. You're eating generally bad. You're going out more. But I do think even then it's hard to navigate that because when they look in the mirror and they don't even recognize themselves sometimes. Like, wow, I never used to have a fanny, look at me now, or my stomach, or, it's weird to watch a beautiful young girl who is gorgeous look at themselves and feel like, what's happening here?
Right. I know. So what have you seen? Can you think of any examples of a mom who you feel like handled a conversation well? Like maybe when her daughter came out and her dress was too tight or something that, how did she, instead of being very direct and blunt and going to sometimes doing that low hanging fruit, saying the first thing that comes to mind instead of just blurting that out, saying something a little bit wiser?
It's tempting because your mom is the person that, if your mom can't tell you, who can? Yeah. There's that angle, but then there's also so I understand that aspect, but I think maybe redirect it to putting her, like when she comes in the store, we put her things in something with not such a rigid waistline, something that can be a little bit more flattering, sometimes a longer, skirt not so short, something with a little bit more forgiving fabric, just so if they gain or lose, they can still wear it. I know my daughter's about to go off to college, and we've had she's particularly small right now, but when we have to take things in, I'm leaving an inseam in things, so because I know it's going to happen, so we can take it out. I also think this is kind of interesting, but I had a girl come in the store the other day that she taught herself to sew. This is kind of get off of that. And she's got a little business started where she's hemming things for people or taking up the straps and doing that. So I think that's kind of interesting, just to kind of sometimes use what you have.
Yeah. And I think too that, something I've learned, say my daughter tries on a dress and, it won't zip. That's something I've learned.
Oh yeah.
And I've had them. I remember when mine were little and I was shopping for an Easter dress and they were in there and I was trying on a dress and it wouldn't zip. It was just tight. And I'm like, the old me as a teenager probably would have started crying.
Right.
But now so aware, I'm like, I got these little eyes watching me. And so I was like, won't zip. I guess I need a bigger size because I knew I was setting the stage for them in the future.
Right.
And when that happened. And so when that happens with one of my daughters now, if that happens, I can't zip it up. They're like, oh, you know what? We might need a different size.
Right.
I just don't make it a big deal. But something I also try to do is find something about that dress that relates. So it might be, you know what? I don't know. I don't love this cut on you, but red is your color.
Right.
You look amazing.
Exactly.
Red. Or I like that skirt because your legs look amazing. Trying to, even if something doesn't work or if it's tight, or if they're in that moment, because we all know what they're thinking. When they're bulging over, they're trying on a pair of jeans that's too small and the waistline's bulging over. You all know how they feel. We've all been there.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what you're saying to yourself. So, what can we do as moms? And you're not going to just go give false praise, but just say, okay, no big deal. Let's just try a different style or a different brand. I also say, too, there are certain brands. I'm like certain brands, it drives me nuts because they run so ridiculously small.
I know.
I mean, I'm like...
I know, and we I like to bring a couple of sizes in there because in my store you could be anything from a 4 to a 10, depending, because we have a lot of international brands. So typically things from France are cut very high underneath the arm. You have to go a size up.
That's good.
I feel like stuff out of Israel runs generous. Stuff out of Brazil is tiny. So don't ever go by sizes, really. Don't be fixated on a size. It just depends on the manufacturer and the country that it's from.
That's so good. And I think that's such a good conversation to have with girls, kind of making it a matter-of-fact thing, rather just about not your personal body. It's just that different brands,
we have a line
different sizes.
From Denmark that is a really cool line, but it is cut for giants.
Really?
The fit model's got to be 6 feet tall. It's the craziest thing, but it's just who their fit model is. They're Nordic, and they're probably, taller, bigger people, but it's interesting. That's just what their fit model is like.
Yeah. I remember going through that with bathing suits that we went to this little boutique one time and mine were little. They were elementary school and we were trying on these European bathing suits.
Oh,
I'm like, no. I was like, this is going to give us all body image issues.
Oh my gosh. I know.
Ridiculous the way that it was cut. And so...
Well, you said something about finding something that looks good on them. And I feel like, for example, like if you're top heavy, finding a V-neck dress, something with a V-neck is typically more flattering than a crew neck.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay.
Your eye, if it's a crew neck, your eye it makes that from where the crew neck part to your bust feel like long. It's a long stretch. So a V-neck is typically much more flattering. So just knowing things that, what to look out for, especially kind of helps navigate all that.
And especially, and I know some of the moms listening don't know how to have these conversations because you're not a fashion expert. But that's why if you're in Birmingham, go to Theodora, go to these stores or go to your local boutique and have them, somebody that you trust have those conversations. And I think that's an important point too. Like Dora, I would totally trust you to speak into. I'm serious into my daughter's lives when it comes to fashion. But I think as moms, if you're going into a store, we have to be very careful because there are also boutiques, and it might be owners or people who work there, and they might have their own body image issues.
Right.
I meet adults sometimes, and they say things, and I'm like, "Oh my word, that was so rude."
Yeah, right.
That's kind of them coming out of their personal issue, and so you don't want that person being the one speaking into your child's what looks good on them or what flatters them. So,
absolutely.
You do really good. Okay, so our 6th point about shopping with your teenage daughter is to talk about scoring a deal. So
everybody loves a deal.
Yeah.
And I think now, we've got so many online resources, Saks Off Fifth, Last Call, The Real, Poshmark has been a good one. My only thing about that is when we've done it too, but we've got stuck with stuff with Poshmark because it didn't fit right. There's a lot of that. But I think the best thing to do, again, get in a store, try it on, look at the fabric, look at the fit. You can take an afternoon and say, you know what, today we're going to do a game. We're going to hit 3 or 4 stores and we're going to buy something on sale. And let's just scour the sale racks. And sometimes the stuff that ends up on the sale rack is really good pieces. We just sometimes have to clean up our selling floor, and we have ones left of everything, and it makes the store look junky. So we put it on the sale rack. It's still a great piece. We just have to clean up the floor. So there's nothing wrong with it. So go into a dressing room, try a bunch of sale stuff on. And I think if you hit the boutique, sale racks are great. A place that I also think consignment stores are incredible, especially if you're traveling. I had a customer that went to Italy, and she went to this consignment store and scored the most incredible Pucci dress.
Oh, wow.
For her daughter. It was unreal. If you're ever like in a city like London or whatever, maybe if you walk by a consignment store, dart in there. You might find just one of those interesting pieces. And then a place that I love is a place called United Apparel Liquidators. UAL is what it's called. It started out in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and they used to buy up all the boutiques, sell merchandise at the end of the season. And they even had like Bergdorf Goodman's stuff, Bloomingdale's, the bigger stores, but they also had like local boutiques. Well, now they have 10 locations, and they're in Nashville, they're in Mississippi, they're in Louisiana. And you have to dig, but there are so many great, incredible deals that you can find in there. And it's the thrill of the hunt.
That would actually be a fun little trip.
It is. They've got 3 locations in Nashville. They've got a bunch. Oh, yeah. I found, 20 years ago, we found a pair of Louis Vuitton pants for my husband.
Oh, wow.
My husband didn't even know it. It was so wasted on him because I was like.
He didn't appreciate it.
Not at all. But I was like, wow. And they were $35.
That's amazing.
But that was just, things aren't that cheap now, but it was incredible.
Yeah. And I'd like to talk a little bit, too, about mixing something expensive with something that's trendy and less expensive. Like you said, Kate Middleton, I'm sure will have obviously has a lot of expensive clothes, but then she might also mix it with Zara.
I think that is so key. I think it makes things interesting. And I think when you're spending real money on clothes, I think 2 things. It's the cut and it's the fabric. Now, to have a good cut and something really tailored with a lot of detail, it's labor intensive, and labor is so expensive nowadays. It does drive up the cost of the garment. And a beautiful fabric is so expensive now. And to cut it, like in a perfect pattern or whatever, it does drive up the cost of the garment. So if you are going to spend real money on pieces, cut and fabric always. But I feel like pants, to me, can make or break a figure. And I literally have...
So you think that's where you should splurge, is on pants?
Well, go in your closet and pull out old black pants and try them on. They're all wrong. Right. I don't know how mine are all wrong. They were great at the time. I don't know what has happened, but now they're wrong. The stride is too long. The leg is not right. It doesn't feel current.
Right.
You need a current like right now, we're selling a lot of, it's like an ankle pant, slight flare with a split up the front. It's kind of got a front, like slit. Well, it's great looking. And that one pant, though, can take an old top that you've had forever or a trendy cheap top and make it feel current.
Right.
You know, and a pant I feel like you can wear a lot of different ways.
Yes.
That's, to me, where you put the money in.
Is a good pants.
100%. Or a cool jacket.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea.
You know,
and I feel like jackets are so in right now.
Jackets are great. They can kind of elevate. It's the third piece. We have one of our associates, she just loves the third piece. It completely changes the look of the outfit.
So would the third piece sometimes be a great necklace, or is it like
Typically, it's like a vest. Let's say a vest, a jacket, a cardigan.
Okay.
It's a third, like so you've got pants and a top. That third piece really elevates your outfit, and it takes it from being sporty or to being dressier. But I think invest in third pieces because you can rewear those, and they're timeless.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're seasonless too.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of cute blazers and just fun colors and
so fun.
Even a lot of the younger people wearing it too.
Absolutely.
Okay, then our last point we talked about shopping with your teenage daughter is to talk about dressing in a way that reflects your heart and who you are inside. And you know, this really goes back to what we were talking about earlier, the current trends and the naked dress trend and all the craziness out there. But you know, let's address the girl who's in college, the sorority girl that maybe, you know, she's feeling like she's not getting many dates, or she's feeling a little unnoticed or unattractive because she sees maybe who's getting the dates. And sometimes it might be the girls who are dressing more provocatively.
Of course, because that's what you notice. That's what your eye gets drawn to. And I had this girl, gorgeous, high school. She was everything. She's just a total package, goes off to college, tells her mother, you know, I can't get a date. Nobody's looking at me. Why would they look at me when... You know, look at how they're dressing. They get all the attention. She's more of a classic beauty, you know, her style. And she was very disappointed and says, you know, I'm not going to get any attention like this. And so I don't know. What do you think, Kari? You've got 4 daughters. I was totally blindsided by that. So what is your take on that?
I know. I mean, I think girls just have to know that, yeah, I mean, just because something gets you attention doesn't mean it's always positive attention. And I mean, my thing, and I wrote about this in 10 Truths, that, you know, I think there's a mentality out there that a lot of girls and women too, you know, I hear about this in the female dating scene, people our age, that a lot of people think you have to dress like that to get a man.
Right.
But my philosophy is if that's what it takes to get a man, then, you know, if you're basing it all on physical appearance or physical attraction and lust, I'm like, you just made yourself replaceable. Yeah. Because, you know, you're never going to be the prettiest girl there's always going to be a prettier, more interesting, more provocatively dressed girl or woman coming along. So you are instantly replaceable. And if that's what a guy's attracted to, then it's not going to last, or it's not going to be a healthy relationship. So I'm like, you know, so yeah, you might not get those dates, but is that really the kind of guy you want to attract anyway?
And let me say this, as I have a son, and I know a lot of our listeners have sons. What is your, how do guys, I'm just curious from a guy's point of view, what do they think when they see a naked dress trend?
I know, I'm curious.
Because I'm like, I kind of brought it up to my husband, and he was like, you know, I don't know. I mean, do you look or do you don't look?
Right.
Like, if you look, I mean, you're going to look because you're like, oh my gosh, that's a naked dress trend. But you don't want to look because you don't want to be creepy.
Right, I know.
So it's kind of awkward for them as well.
Right, and I just feel like the right person, you know, if you're dressing, there's a way to dress cute and fashionably and classy.
Absolutely.
And in a way that a boy is not embarrassed to take you home to meet his mother. But, you know, one of my daughters has dated a boy in college, and I thought it was kind of funny that he was like, he likes, not that she, you know, he likes the way she dresses. I mean, he noted that he liked how she dresses a little more modestly than some of the other girls. And so I think that just proves the point. You know, you tell them these things, but they don't believe you. You're like, the right person will appreciate that. But I'm like, you want somebody, and it might not be in college, but I mean, you and I both went to college, but, you know, just what a guy is, you know, what they're drawn to and maybe attracted to in college, or what they think they want then versus give it 5 years or so versus at age 25 or 30, it's different.
But I think the worst thing is to see a girl feel like she's not enough and has to change who she is and her personal style to kind of fit in and to get attention. Yeah, you might get looked at and you get attention, but I don't know, does your confidence, and sometimes confidence does come from getting attention.
Right. And I think it perpetuates the whole cycle of the hookup culture.
Yep.
You might get a date, you might date for 2 or 3 weeks, like you might have a boyfriend. But it does make me sad, and even I know that there are some single women that fall into this category that they think they have to do that to get a man, but then they end up feeling used because the relationship doesn't last, and it's probably because they were attracted to the wrong person. It was based on the wrong things, and they devalued themselves. And so, like we're saying, I mean, I think clothing should be a reflection of who you are inside, and
creating, maybe teaching our daughters to create self-esteem that is built on character, values, and personality. Those are more endearing traits, I guess, than the facade of just look at me. But we have a look at me culture, though. It's likes, it's attention. That is so ingrained in who they are now.
Right. But to me, that I think that if the trends are the naked dress trends or barely their clothing, to me, when you see somebody that's dressed in a classier way, and it can still be a short skirt or whatever. I'm not saying it has to be look like grandma,
Right.
But to me, it's like, wow, that's she's refreshingly beautiful. Like to me, it can almost make a girl stand out even more in a good way. Well, when that's the culture and you're like one of the few not doing that, then the right person's gonna be like, thank you, God, finally somebody is on the same page as me.
That's funny you say that. We had a designer she's a dress designer that for a minute got a new design team, and they were all very young, and it looked very Revolve. Like it was just too much. The slits were way too high. You couldn't wear a bra with any of the dresses. It was just too much. And they tried it out for a season, and it was an epic fail. Like it was awful. And the reps, we told the reps, this is just too much. This is not especially for the Southern consumer, this is not working. Well, the very next season, everything was Chanel inspired.
Really?
Yep. It was
from the same line.
Same line. Chanel tweed skirt, the Chanel jacket with the gold buttons. Everything had much more prim look. Mm-hmm. It was like a total 180.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that shows the power that moms
have. Yes, 100%.
It's all driven by what are we going to be spending our money on when we're shopping for our daughters? Because most of us, we might spend more money on our daughters' clothing sometimes than we do our own.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, if we refuse to buy some of the stupid trends that are out there.
And we tell designers now, at first we didn't, because, you meet a designer and their heart and soul goes into a collection. And a lot of times they're young and they're dreamers. But now I've just gotten to be like, this is not going to work. And this is why. And you just be honest with them, because honestly, you want them to stay in business.
Right.
You have to have a dialogue with them. And we're doing that a lot more now. It was really uncomfortable, but now it's
the retailers are now.
Oh, absolutely. That's why that line changed.
Wow. Was that at market that conversation happened, or when?
Oh, yes. It was actually in the showroom with the rep, and he says, yes, we told them to be less Revolve and more shop bop, and that there was a lot of resistance. Everybody sent their stuff back.
Wow. Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you weren't the only retailer?
No. Oh, no. But it was across the board.
Good.
So yeah, I was glad to see that.
Yeah. Like I said, I hope that trend continues, because sometimes you look at what the celebrity trends are and you're like, please don't let this trickle down.
This is so, And another thing I think is interesting too is that the standards are so different for men. When a man wears a suit or a uniform, he is seen as empowered and distinguished. Mm-hmm. And I wish we could kind of play into that as women.
Yes, I agree.
Well,
maybe that'll be your next venture.
Oh, Lord.
Create your own clothing line.
So as moms, we have a lot of power being consumers, and they do listen to us. When you voice your grievances to us, we tell our reps, and our reps will tell the designers. So it definitely makes a difference. And we're all as mothers going through this collectively, absolutely across the board.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate everything you're doing and just bringing, like I said, classic clothing into Theodora that girls can wear, but also moms too. And just really suits, I guess, whether you're 16 or 60, it's all just beautiful clothing. So, okay, Dora, I love this conversation. Thank you so much. Like I said, I know a lot of moms are going to appreciate this and all the insight you brought to the table, because, we don't want this to be a battle with our daughters. Like I said, we want them to know that we're on their team, and it's a lot easier when we can find pieces and articles of clothing that they agree with.
And it's fun to cultivate a personal style that reflects who you are. And I think whether you have a mom or a grandmother or a mentor, somebody whose style that you love, bring them into the picture and help them cultivate your style, because those are the seeds that are planted that can take, you through the journey of womanhood.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Yeah. Like look up, like bring in somebody to go shopping with you who you love their style.
Absolutely. That's 100%. Good. Like a grandmother or somebody who thinks she just always looks great.
Yeah.
They have so much insight. They have taught us so much.
Yes. And talk about vintage looks. They know,
they know.
trends come and go.
Absolutely.
And maybe it's only a matter of time before the pendulum swings the other way, back to the Audrey Hepburn look.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank
Dora.
you.
Let's do it again sometime soon.
Take care.
Thanks. Friends, thank you for tuning in today. I am so grateful to have you here. And if you enjoyed this show, please subscribe wherever you listen and leave a ratings or review so that other people can find these messages too. For links to my books, my social media, and my new community on Substack, check out the show links. Thanks again for your support, and have a great day.